What's up with her? What's up with her?
So this woman spent more than 20 years obsessing over a guy, hoping that they'll be together. And this doesn't end the way you think it would. Now, the woman's name is Kamiko, and Kamiko is a young teen when the story starts, and she's going to high school in Japan. And one day, back in the 70s, her whole life changes. Because she's hanging out at the school's tennis club, playing tennis or whatever, and that is when she meets this guy, Satoru. And Satoru is also a student and a member of the school's tennis club. And Kamiko thinks Satoru is fine, and so she gets a little crush on him, and she starts paying attention to him and thinking about him all the time. And after a while, she thinks about confessing her feelings to him. I mean, she knows he could reject her. What if he rejects her? I mean, is it worth the risk? Well, ultimately, she decides yes, it is. And so she goes up to him and she tells him that she likes him. But unfortunately, Satoru, he doesn't feel the same way. So he's like, nah. And Kamiko is completely devastated by this. I mean, she really liked this guy, and now what's she gonna do? Well, she isn't the type to give up. So she starts doing things to try and get him to like her. Like on Valentine's Day, she sends him chocolates along with a love letter, but when he gets them, he's still like, nah. She also starts waiting around for him after tennis practice so that they can walk home together or whatever. And Satoru, he's a nice guy, so he walks with her sometimes, but eventually he realizes something about her is a little off, and he starts really distancing himself from her. Now, at some point after this, they both graduate high school and they go their separate ways. And decades pass. And so it's now 1999. And Kamiko is 42 at this point, and she's married and she has kids. So she's totally over that Satoru guy, right? Well, not exactly. Because one day...
Man, what? It's been over a decade, bro. And you still got a crush on this man? Like, what is going on, bro?
She gets an invitation to come to an event. It's an official reunion of their high school tennis club. And see, apparently Kamiko, she's been low-key miserable lately. I mean, she's exhausted by her marriage, all the household chores she's always taken care of, and the burden of raising her two kids. And so she starts thinking, if I go to this reunion, I'll probably see Satoru. And he's probably miserable in his marriage too. And maybe that'll be an excuse for us to bond and finally be together. And so the day finally comes, and she gets all dressed up and she heads over to the reunion. And once she's there, she sees Satoru for the first time in over 20 years. And of course, he's still looking all fine. And at some point during the reunion, I guess everyone is talking about themselves and what they've been up to, and Kamiko tells everyone that she's married and she has kids and that she's doing well. And Satoru tells everyone that he's married and has a son, and he also talks about his work at a real estate company and how he's scheduled to work on certain days of the week and that he stays home on other days. Now, eventually, the reunion ends and everyone goes home. But Kamiko, she can't get Satoru out of her mind. She's obsessed with him all over again. So she secretly starts gathering intelligence on his family. She figures out where he lives in Nagoya, and she starts studying his daily schedule. And the more she finds out, the more she becomes jealous of his wife. Now, his wife is this woman, Nami. And so eventually Kamiko decides that if Satoru is really happy with Nami, then she needs to take Nami out of the picture. And this is where shit gets really dark. Because Kamiko comes up with a plan to get rid of Nami so that they can be together, even though Satoru has never shown interest in her ever. Now, she already knows that he leaves home for work on certain days of the week, and that all she has to do is wait for the right opportunity to strike. And so one day, that same year, 1999, that opportunity comes. And when she's certain Satoru won't be home, she goes over to his apartment and she knocks on the door. And Nami answers, and Kamiko introduces herself, and I guess because she's someone from Satoru's past, Nami lets her in. Then, suddenly, Kamiko pulls out a knife, and boom, she stabs Nami, and she stabs her over and over again until she sadly dies. And the worst part is that Satoru and Nami's 2-year-old son is there, and he witnesses the whole thing. Now, luckily, Kamiko doesn't harm the kid. But after that, she
That's
uses their
crazy.
sink to rinse the
Oh,
blood
she
off
did
of
harm the
her.
kid. That
Then
that 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 girl is insane. She harmed the kid,
she
bro.
quietly leaves the apartment as if nothing happened. Later that day, a neighbor notices the front door is open, and that is unusual behavior from them. And so he goes inside to check to see if everything is okay, and that is when he finds Nami there dead, and he immediately calls the police. And so police show up and they start investigating, and they actually find two different types of blood there, the victims and the killers. But it's 1999 and DNA testing just isn't quite what it will become later. But they do know that the blood belongs to a woman and that this woman's blood type is type B and that she also wears a size 24 centimeter shoe. But that's all they really got. I mean, the 2-year-old witness can't really tell them anything. And so, because of the lack of evidence, this case essentially goes cold.
Dang,
Meanwhile, poor Satoru, he's
dang.
devastated by the loss of his wife. I mean, he's never going to be able to get over this. I mean, he can't even get himself to clean up the crime scene left behind, not even the blood, because he's
That's
hoping that
crazy.
one day this evidence will help identify the killer. So he starts handing out flyers on the street looking for information regarding his wife's murder. And every year after that, on the anniversary of her death, he'll go out on the street and hand out flyers just to keep public attention on the case alive. And so 3 to 4 years pass, and Satoru still hasn't touched that crime scene. But by this point, it's been unbearably painful to look at, as you can imagine. So he decides to move out and go to a new place. But he still leaves the old apartment completely untouched. And he doesn't want anyone else to move in there, so he continues paying rent on it year after year after year. And 26 years go by. And he's
26.
still paying rent on this old place that he doesn't even live in anymore. Because he's still hoping that one day the blood evidence will be used to help identify the killer. But after 26 years, it's starting to look like maybe the murderer won't ever be found. Until 2024. Kimiko is
Dang.
69 years old at this
It
point,
took
and
them this
Satoru is
long to find the
68.
killer?
And he still wants to find his wife's killer. And he still goes out and he hands out flyers on the anniversary of her death every year. And at this point, modern forensic science has advanced a lot. So police launch a proactive screening campaign, and they actively compile a list of several hundred former acquaintances, school alumni, and tennis club members to request voluntary DNA samples. And on that list is Kamiko. And so they ask her for a DNA sample. And she's just like, nah. Which in Japan, that's her legal right to refuse. But then police keep showing back up and pressuring her. And Kamiko, she starts feeling really guilty. I mean, she's felt guilt over this for years, but now it's really weighing on her day after day after day. And so ultimately, she can't take it anymore. And she decides to lift the burden off herself, and she submits a blood sample, and she eventually confesses. And so, bam, she gets arrested. And Japan doesn't do public mugshots, and so I couldn't find any recent pictures of her, so you get nothing. But she is currently in jail, and she actually hasn't been to trial yet, even though she has confessed. This is all technically alleged.
Dang, bro. It took them. They ain't getting enough evidence back in the day. Bro, that's crazy, bro. You could get away with a lot of murders back in the day, but they basically lived their life. It don't really matter if they arrested her now, because she basically lived her life. That's